We often imagine ancient Egypt in gold and grandeur, pharaohs feasting in marble halls. But beneath that glittering illusion were millions of workers, farmers, and servants, each living off humble, hand-prepared meals from the earth and the Nile. Today we travel back thousands of years, not to the palace, but to the peasant's kitchen. We're recreating 10 real meals that fed ancient Egypt's laboring class. No silver platters, no honeyed wines, just the food of the people who built the pyramids, harvested the grain, and ground every loaf by hand. Our first and most essential dish, flatbread made from emmer wheat. Emmer was the staple grain of Egypt. Tougher than modern wheat, it was ground with heavy stone querns, often leaving behind bits of grit in every bite. The flour was mixed with water and sometimes allowed to ferment naturally. These loaves were shaped by hand and baked in clay ovens or over hot stones. Nearly every Egyptian ate this bread daily, 3 meals a day if they could afford it. It was their plate, their spoon, their sandwich, their everything. Alongside bread, a pot of lentils and onions often bubbled over a village fire. Brown lentils were cheap, easy to store, and full of protein. Combined with garlic, onion, and a dash of salt, they formed a basic but filling stew. Cooked in coarse ceramic pots, this dish was warm, simple, and, by ancient standards, nutritious. For the peasant, this was dinner after a long day at the fields. For modern archaeologists, it's proof of Egypt's surprisingly plant-based past. Next up, something far more intense: fermented fish paste. Small fish, salted and left to rot under the sun, then mashed into a pungent paste. This was Egypt's version of a fish sauce, used to season food, preserve protein, and possibly clear your sinuses. While royalty dined on roasted goose, peasants used this strong-smelling sauce to flavor their humble stews and grains. And yes, it smelled exactly how you imagine. In ancient Egypt, garlic and leeks weren't just vegetables, they were medicine. Crushed garlic mixed with chopped leeks made a pungent mash. It was smeared on bread, added to porridge, or eaten raw for strength and endurance. Workers building the pyramids were said to eat massive quantities of garlic. They believed it gave them power. Archaeology shows they might have been right. On rare occasions, a peasant might catch something more exciting, like a wild quail. These small birds were plucked, spitted, and roasted over an open flame. Glazed with mashed dates for sweetness, this was a rare moment of luxury. Protein was precious, and meat even more so. When milk was available, usually from goats or cows, a soft cheese could be made. Curdled using vinegar or fig sap, strained through linen and salted lightly, the result was fresh, tangy, and surprisingly good with barley porridge. Cheese doesn't show up often in royal records, but among the poor, it was a form of preservation, a cooling protein source in Egypt's sweltering heat. You couldn't survive in ancient Egypt without beer, but it wasn't the beer we know. It was thick, porridge-like, and made from soaked bread and barley, low in alcohol, high in nutrition, and full of floating grains. Even children drank it, and it wasn't just food, it was currency. Fava beans were another source of vital protein. Ground, mashed with leeks and garlic, seasoned with cumin and coriander, then shaped into flat cakes. These were fried in animal fat or grilled on stones. Crunchy on the outside, soft in the center, rich in calories, cheap to make. Today they resemble falafel. Even the poor liked sweets, when they could get them. Figs and grapes, mashed and dried, were shaped into sticky, chewy cakes, eaten during harvest festivals or as a midday treat. In a hot climate without refrigeration, preservation was survival. Cucumbers, onions, and radishes were sliced and pickled in vinegar and herbs. These tangy, crunchy salads provided not just flavor, but safe hydration. In a world where drinking water could kill you, vinegar became a miracle. So much of history is written by the rich. But what if we followed the crumbs? Look at the bread, the beans, the bubbling stew in a smoke-stained pot. That's the real story. That's the taste of history.